Well, barely a week since COP30 ended, Colombia and the Netherlands have picked up on the momentum they started, where more than 80 countries expressed support for a fossil fuel phase-out roadmap. While the Philippines is not part of the 24 countries taking part, any fossil fuel phase-out will benefit a country known to the world's most vulnerable and disaster-prone. With us now for more is Professor Elmer Soriano, the co-convenor of Climate Labs, a network connecting governments and universities to act locally to regenerate the planet. He is currently hosting a net positive case writing. Good seeing you, Prof. Elmer. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Kathy, for having me.
So what do you make of the Colombia talks outside of COP30? And in what way can the Philippines benefit, even if it's not a member?
Well, I think it's a bold move by the countries. Our culture is heavily dependent on petroleum, and it is a bold statement to say that we will stop our dependency on petroleum. But that's what humanity should be doing, and the Philippines would benefit from that because there'd be less global warming, and we'd have less calamities and heat over time if that helps reduce global warming.
So let's bring fossil fuel future closer to net positive, as that's our discussion today. How far or how close are we, given that we're still waiting for the updated version of our NDCs, or nationally determined contributions?
Well, net positive, I think, is equally bold. In ways, it's even more complex and more ambitious than just phasing out petroleum. So net positive is based on the book by Paulman and Winston, and they described how firms can actually try to reverse global warming through their operations by expanding the scope of net positive operations, initially from within their firm and then to their value chains and industries. But that's not easy, but that's how firms can contribute to this net positive future.
They can, but it's not easy. I mean, many corporations here are familiar with acronyms like CSR and ESG. So how is genuinely net positive different from, say, doing less harm or going into traditional CSR projects?
Well, CSR evolved from community relations. It's companies trying to do good, trying to improve relationships with the communities, trying to give back somehow to the community. But net positive, going net positive is looking at their own operations, their own DNA, and trying to express their mandate by actually producing more good from their core operations. So it's it goes deeper than CSR.
Have you got a sample, maybe of a company that is well on its way to being net positive?
Well, the book Net Positive was written by former CEO of Unilever, and they describe in detail the different measures that they did to clean up more and more parts of their business units, how they revised their branding so that they could address inequities and poverty. In the Philippines, just yesterday we had a workshop. The Climate Action Hubs had a workshop at Mapua to talk about city cooling, and I learned from their officer that they are one of their senior officers that they are completely zero carbon, at least in terms of electricity. So through a power purchase agreement, they ensure that all of the electric power that they consume on their campus is produced from renewable energy. So I'm thinking, hey, that's a bold move, and that's something local.
So is this something that renewable companies can take on more easily than those that probably will have to work around their whole ecosystem to find a way to be net positive?
Well, yes, renewable energy companies have at their core production of clean energy. And then if you're, say, a renewable energy, solar power plant or a wind power farm, then most of your operational expenses go to construction. And then after that, you're just harvesting clean energy. So yes, it's easier for renewable energy companies to pull off. But still, they still have a carbon footprint even with their operations. Their vehicles might not be electric vehicles. There's a carbon footprint when they construct using concrete. So it's not necessarily net positive immediately.
So how do you respond then to business leaders who say our margins are thin, the policy environment is uncertain, and net positive is a luxury that we cannot afford right now?
Well, on the one hand, that's understandable. They have to make a margin to thrive, to survive as a business. And yet, if the CEOs, the board members, and the top leaders of the companies need to begin recognizing that their operations produce greenhouse gases, and that is getting thrown up to the air, and that is making the planet warmer for our children. And right now, they're not absorbing the cost of that, uh, of the negative effect of the greenhouse gases.
And the cost could also mean flooding. If you were to sign a net positive scorecard for a Philippine city or province, what 2 or 3 indicators would you insist on tracking and why? I mean, any city in particular that comes to mind or province here in the Philippines?
Good question. So the net positive framework by Paulman focuses on firms, and I think if initially firms within the four walls of a firms that produces products or services. If we use that framework on cities, then they would try to go net positive within City Hall, right? Transition to electric vehicles, transition to clean energy for their air conditioning. But the city governments are also in charge of overseeing the population. So more progressive city would strive sooner or later. All cities will should strive to become net positive cities, and not just City Hall, but all of the residents and firms within that city.
And I see that you're working with universities and social innovation councils. I've seen some of the pictures. Looks like a regular classroom, but how can universities and professional schools change how they train the future leaders so that net positive becomes a default and not the exception?
Thanks. That's a good question. I think this work is intergenerational, and that's why, well, most of the instructors and faculty members have not yet learned net positive, and therefore they feel ill-equipped to teach it to their students. And that's why we should start soon and start with the students so that they start learning these mindsets. In this photo, it's actually a social lab, and we have senior high school students in Sultan Kudarat reporting their findings to the municipal mayor. So the guy there in the background is the municipal mayor, and they're reporting their research findings. And to my mind, this is how we can start closing the loop. Students, young adults, learning that their research, their ideas matter to city government, and local governments learning to listen to the youth, because the youth have more at stake in terms of the success or failure of this of reversing or slowing down global warming.
All right, lots more to work on to get to net positive, but thank you so much for your insights and also keeping
Thanks
us
for
up to
having me.
speed on it. Prof. Elmer Soriano of Climate Labs.